this culture war we're in is fought against the philosophy that presumes that it's power of that sort that structures our social relations. Now, if you believe that, and you shouldn't, because it's nonsense, it's the anti-truth, because that isn't what structures our social relations. It's an aberration upon what structures our social relations. Well, then you believe that individuals are nothing but the mouthpiece of their group, and their group identity is beneficial to them because it allows for the expression of their power and for the maintenance of their status and all of that. If you believe that, then there's no dialogue between people. There's only power struggle between groups.
What's going on, everyone? It's Talks with Kenny here. Today we're reacting to a video with Jordan Peterson about cancel culture and its relationship with toxic femininity. Let's take a look.
Do you think the underlying reason for cancel culture is that we are so connected through technology, but so isolated, just wanting to be heard? What do you think is the deepest reason? Well, I don't think that the underlying reason is for cancel culture is that we are so connected through technology. I think it would be happening anyways. I think it's possible that technology facilitates the kind of bullying that cancel culture essentially represents by making it somewhat easier and also making it less likely that the people who are doing it are going to be held responsible for their actions.
Yep, I agree with that statement because with social media, there's a form of anonymity, right? I don't know if I said that right, but there's a sense of, hey, you don't quite know who this person is, right? Like, let's say if you try to interact with like people do cancel culture wise in real life, right? In the public area, it'll be a lot more difficult to actually attain that power, right? You have to have the physicality. The person has to be smaller than you. Maybe the person has to be unwilling to fight for you to remove them out of the public square, right? But in social media world, right, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is block, or you cause a mass uprising, and then there's a central authority that could be like, oh, let's remove them, let's pluck them out of reality, right? Oh, I see no evil type. You get what I'm trying to say? And I think that reason why I said like toxic femininity is that that's how women tend to bully. They tend to socially isolate the undesirable girl in the group, the girl that happened to talk back, or the girl that happened to question the narrative that the group is having, and she gets ostracized, or she gets socially isolated, or they turn their backs on her, they gossip about her, destroy her reputation. You see it in social media. Social media is the playground of women. Women statistically are on social media. They clock more hours on social media than men. It's a fact. Like women, like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, predominantly women, and predominantly women use them. So it has this feminine view on things. That's why Andrew Tate or people that question the female narrative gets canceled out of there, right? But I digress.
But I don't think it's the fact that we're connected through technology, and I'm presuming the questioner means modern technologies such as those that underlie the use of social media rather than, books and print and TV and all those technologies that we've had for at least some time. The deepest reason for cancel culture, well, I would say there's two deep reasons. One is it's a form of bullying, and it might even be a female-specific form of bullying, or female, not specific, that's wrong.
Yeah, female, like, what he's saying is, I agree with that statement that Jordan Peterson laid out, because when I noticed that, gossip, she's a slut, don't date her. In high school, college, I experienced all that, right? When you're talking with a girl, and if she's not the popular one, or they don't like her, they'll spread like gossip or bad rumors about her, so that way you have a bad perception about them, right? And also, there's also stats out there that men are more likely to do physical abuse, and women are more likely to participate in emotional abuse, right? When the wife is abusing the husband, is usually emotional, right? And most domestic violence situations are mutual abuse. It's mutual abuse. That's the majority. All right. And then before someone come into my comment section like, oh, minimizing domestic violence, I'm not, because if you look at the couples, like if you want to make it domestic violence a male issue, solely a male problem, look at gay couples, like gay men couples. They have they report the lowest rates of domestic violence, and which group of people have the highest, which couples have the highest rate of domestic violence? Lesbian couples. So that like if you want to try to cast a narrative that domestic violence is only a male thing, you have another thing coming. And a lot of times, like, this is why I say domestic violence is a mutual thing. A lot of time is the husband is retaliating physically because of emotional abuse, usually. But that goes underreported. I can't make that claim, but that's an assumption I'm making. But I digress. Let's continue.
It's the form of bullying that goes after reputations, essentially, and that's a feminine form of bullying, because the feminine use of aggression tends to be reputation destruction, and cancel culture is a manifestation of that. And
I agree, because like when women are mad about you or something, they try to shame you, right? Oh, you're insecure. Oh, you're an incel. Like, they'll throw names at you, right? Like, that's what the reputation destruction. So I think everything so far that Jordan Peterson is laying out is like, I've seen some evidence of that in my own life or in my own experience. Better that I say, but I digress.
I don't know to what degree cancel culture and its assorted manifestations are a manifestation of the feminine tendency to destroy reputations, but it looks to me like there's something to that. Mm-hmm. So we don't know, right? We don't know how female antisocial behavior proclivities are going to manifest themselves in the political realm, but we'd be foolish to think that they won't, because they certainly manifested themselves in, male antisocial tendencies certainly manifested themselves in the male political realm. So why would we expect anything different on the female side? In any case, no, I think the reason that cancel culture exists is, well, there's this bullying issue, but there's another deep reason, which is that the philosophy upon which cancel culture rests is the philosophy that states that the fundamental motivating drive and the organizing principle of Western culture is power. And power is something like the ability to use force to compel others to act against their own best interests.
So I agree with that statement. Like, we have in our, like, cancel culture is power. I always say that. Always like a power move. Like, you're trying to use "I'm offended" as a means of justifying your use of power to get someone to do something that goes against what they want to do, right? Their best interest, as Jordan Peterson laid it out, right? And this is one of the reasons why, like, earlier on when I was dating at 19, and I was like, hey, I'll never marry a feminist, because of this, the exact case that Jordan Peterson laid out, is because the relationship is not going to be, because to me, what makes a good relationship is your ability to cooperate, your ability to be a team player, right? It's not about you anymore. It's about we. There's no me in marriage. It's about we. And that's what I told my wife when we decided to get married. I said, hey, look, to me, marriage is about family. The family comes before everything. It comes before my best interest, your best interest. And it's supposed to be a complement of us both, right? If we both can't agree to it, it's not getting done. That's how I approach marriage, right? So when you're like trying to do this with a feminist, she's not going to see it as that. She's going to see it as a battle of power. Like, the marriage is a battle of power. That's why, like, whatever's good for the family, is, if it's not good for her, she's not going to participate in it, which makes you what? An uncooperative partner, right? If our current situation demands that, hey, you have to be a stay-at-home mom, all right? Remember, the family has to be first. If the family demands that, hey, mom, you need to be a stay-at-home mom, would you do it or not? If you're a feminist, you'll say no, because then I'm losing leverage here, and the man will have power over me. This is what happens when you see the opposite sex as an enemy. And this is my take from feminism. Based on what I observe from feminists, based on what I have seen, it's always been a negative experience. And that combativeness, even if you say, oh, no, it's about equality, it's about this, your actions don't say that. Your actions don't line up to what you claim to be true or what you say with your mouth. Who going around saying a gender is trash, men or women? Sure, both will say it, but if you're a woman, I told you, hey, date this man. This man says all women are trash. Would you date him? No, you wouldn't. So why you expect a man to date a woman that are prone to say men are trash or say hateful and derogatory remarks towards men, and you want me to take them seriously? It doesn't make sense. Like what he's saying, compel someone to do something against their best interest. That's not a man's best interest to date a feminist. And don't worry, guys, only 44% of women identify themselves as feminists. So even if you have that route, majority of women are not feminists, so you still have a chance to find a partner that's not a feminist. But I digress. Let's continue.
Or to act against what they would freely choose. So it's the antithesis of informed negotiation, right? If I have power over you, that means I can force you to do my will rather than negotiate with you to do our will, or to allow you or to facilitate you using your will. So that's how I'm going to use power in this discussion. And this culture war we're in is fought against the philosophy that presumes that it's power of that sort that structures our social relations. Now, if you believe that, and you shouldn't, because it's nonsense, it's the anti-truth, because that isn't what structures our social relations. It's an aberration upon what structures our social relations. Well, then you believe that individuals are nothing but the mouthpiece of their group, and their group identity is beneficial to them because it allows for their expression, the expression of their power, and for the maintenance of their status and all of that. If you believe that, then there's no dialogue between people. There's only power struggle between groups. And so you don't give someone who isn't in your group the opportunity to speak or to exist, for that matter. Why would you? Because
why would you, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, cancel culture ain't about any, it's outrage, we're doing the moral thing. It's not a moral thing. It's a power thing. And if people are being honest, that's what it is. So that's why if it's a moral thing, you'll debate the person. You'll have discussions with the person, seeing where they're coming from. That's moral. And you make a educated decision whether you continue associating them or not. A moral position is, hey, I believe in free speech, even speech I don't agree with. That's moral. Power is, I only agree with speeches that align with my worldview, and if it's not in line with my worldview, then it's hate speech. Then it's bad. Then it's evil. That's power. Because you're not allowing other groups of people who think differently than you to express their views openly. And everyone say, oh, free speech has consequences. Fine, that's how they have consequences, but that doesn't allow you to just prejudiciously dismiss people from a platform because, oh, they have opinions I don't like. Andrew Tate is a perfect example of that. The feminists got mad. The females got mad. Remember, I already laid it out. Social media is majority women. Women spend the most time on social media. That means social media has a very feminine view on things. So you got this traditional man, right? Andrew Tate out here saying all this stuff based on evidence so far, I can tell. Right? And best case is his opinion. And y'all want to boot him off the platform, kick him out, ostracize him, ban him everywhere. Right? It's the same vision of when women, woman, you said something I don't like. Okay, don't be friends with her anymore. She's a bad person. Don't be friends with her anymore. Right? When they gossip about you, reputation destruction is an extension of toxic femininity. And men, if you're in a relationship with a woman like that, hey, you better watch out. Because a woman that can't take or actually understand your position, and the first thing they try to do is to shame you, demean you, make fun of you for having your position, that's not someone that's going to be very cooperative. And I think that's just the roadblock, not communication. Communication is bullcrap. Because if you don't have cooperation, it doesn't matter how you communicate. If they're like the antithesis of toxic masculinity, toxic femininity, they won't listen to you. They'll just use their weapon of choice to exert power over you. How far communication will go in a relationship like that? Cooperation is the foundation of any relationship. That's my take, but I digress.
Because they're just doing their power thing and you're doing your power thing, and it's a battle of all against all, and you want your power identity to win. So cancel culture is the logical outcome of that reasoning. Why would you don't engage with your opponents because there's no you to engage. There's no individual. There's just the group identity expressed in power. So you can't have a rational discussion.
I'm sorry, I keep pausing it. This reminds me of what happened with in Arizona, how the Katie Hobbs lady didn't want to debate Carrie Lake, right? I don't want to engage with you because you're the enemy, right? That's a form of cancel culture as well. I'm just saying, I just saw some parallels there. I was like, wow, it's clicking now, right? I don't want to associate with you. I don't want my base to be associated with you because I am the mouthpiece of the ideology. What's Katie Hobbs' ideology? The Democratic Party. You don't vote for me, Katie Hobbs. You vote for the Democratic Party, and I'm just a mouthpiece. I'm just a representative of that idea. It's crazy. I like how Jordan Peterson breaks it down, and I feel like he can get a little wordy there, but you can't help it. He's a college professor. What can you do?
Modify your axioms and come to a negotiated settlement. That's all part of the Enlightenment hypocrisy, or even deeper than that, the Judeo-Christian hypocrisy. Now, I take umbrage to that, let's say, because I don't believe that these principles are even Western in their derivation. I believe they're human universal in their derivation.
I agree.
And so, unless...
Yeah, it's not a Western thing. Like, this didn't generate from Western. I think this is a human thing. All humans done it. Slavery is an extension of this. Exerting power over another, right? Is to exert someone's free will to comply or manipulate them to do what you want them to do. Domination. That's all it is. That's cancel culture, just an extension of the worst parts of human nature. And we all are capable of this. This is why we need free speech. Someone to check us. Hey, Kenny, you going down off the deep end. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. I'm a correct my ways. But if you not allow people to freely debate that out in the open, and everyone's just thinking the same, eventually we'll fall off a cliff, and we're like, damn, no one told us that we're near the cliff. Well, you cancel all the voices that disagreed with you when you was heading down that path. Now you reap what you sow. You fall off the slope, right? I digress.
The people who are criticizing Western culture want to attribute to Western culture only the best of human culture, because that's what this is, which I think is something they would have a hard time swallowing. I don't believe the best in human culture has manifested itself as the drive to power. I think that's an appalling philosophy. I think the only people who believe that are those who use power to negotiate their own social relations and who wish they had the power to negotiate the broader social contract.
This is the same argument for systematic racism as well, right? Oh, the people in white privilege, white people have privilege over us. They have power over us. Right. And because they perceive that, hey, if I was in that position, that's what I would do. They project that imagination. So they claim that, oh, all these people in power, I can't do it. It must be because of my skin color. No, you do different decisions than these people. The richest group in America is Asian people. They're a minority group, just like you are, black community. So how come the Asians can do it and you can't do it? And I don't want to hear nothing about slavery. Slavery was 400 years ago. I'm talking about right now. What can you do right now? It's just decisions. They made different decisions than you did. And if, in my view, you do the same decisions that the Asian people are doing, which is focusing on inward, focusing on what you can do, focusing on how you can improve your situation in your community will be in a better spot. But if you're sitting here waiting for people to do something for you, nothing's going to happen. And then you want to get mad when the Democrats exercise their power over you, telling you, hey, you want this child welfare, you want this welfare state, you want us to do something for us with the carrot on the stick approach, you want student loan forgiveness, vote for us. You vote for them, then you find out that it was unconstitutional for them to give you student loan forgiveness. But they have it in their back pocket. Oh, we just overpromise, don't deliver, and they'll still vote for us. And that's how they get you. That's how they get your vote. That's the exercise of power too. That's an extension too. That's not reciprocal. You get my vote, you do something that I expect from you. Democrats aren't reciprocating that. That's why I think black communities should stop voting Democrat. At least, best case for me, or my opinion, start voting Republican. Start getting people to vie for your vote. But no one want to hear me though. Everyone wants to stay in their comfort zone, and that's what it seems like to be. And this midterm proved it. People just want to stay in their comfort zone. I'm comfortable voting Democrat. I'm gonna give them another shot, even if I don't agree with Biden's doing with the country. Even if I don't approve of what Biden's doing right now, I believe they will change. That's how people went out and vote, if I take everything at face value. But I digress.
So I think the hypothesis that power is the fundamental motivation is an unconscious confession on the part of its professors. And I think all of their actions indicate precisely that.
I agree.
So you know who you're dealing with when you hear someone who makes that claim. They're either deeply cynical, or they're narcissistic, or they're Machiavellian, and they believe that's how everyone else is. I think that's absolutely clear. For example, in the writings of Derrida, who was personally appalling as a human being in every possible way. And I mean, I think it is reasonable under most conditions to separate the thinker from his thoughts or her thoughts, but I'd be willing to make an exception in the case of Derrida. But he believed that power structures human relations. That's where he got his sexual gratification, was through the expression of power. And I believe he did think that that's what structured human social relations. And that's how he acted. And that's how he thought. And so his effect as the most cited social scientist ever is so pernicious that it's absolutely beyond comprehension. So those are the reasons for cancel culture. It gives malevolent Machiavellians the opportunity to bully in a manner that destroys reputations without repercussion. And so there's no shortage of fun in that.
Yeah, just like when they go around calling Trump a racist, then they have no proof. When you ask them, hey, well, how is Trump a racist? They give you some example or out of context speech, and you go, well, he was talking about illegal immigrants here. He was talking about Mexican gang members here. Is this country not an asshole country? Would you want to live there? Oh, no? Oh, then how you can call them racist for saying that? But hey, like these people, like anything to justify their use of power, right? I'm justified in banning you, justified in banning you. And then you go, well, aren't you just banning them because you just disagree with them? No. It's a moral issue. They said this or this. This is why they always have to bring up excuses. And like he said, these people are very manipulative. People who participate in cancel culture, people who believe in cancel culture, very manipulative people, very Machiavellian, as he liked to use it. The ends justifying the means. It don't matter if I lied about the fact that he's a racist. I just wanted him to get banned. That's it. But I digress.
And it gives those, and it's required ideologically for the sake of consistency by those who claim that power is the fundamental structuring motivation of Western culture, or perhaps culture at large, insofar as it isn't possible to distinguish between culture and Western culture, unless, as I said, you're willing to attribute all the positive aspects of human universal culture to the West. So the critique is broader than a critique of Western culture. This is the point that I'm making. It's a critique of the fundamental human endeavor, the golden thread that stretches back centuries. And when the cultural critics say that this is a war of fundamentals, they mean that. This is a war that goes all the way to the bottom. It's a war about whether or not it's the logos that's the center of motivation for human social structures. And their answer would be no. It's the power-mad adversary. So you can draw from that statement whatever conclusion you want.
That Western society. So yeah, that's a good point, right? It's human nature. It's human nature to use power, right? That's the bad. Like that's our flaw, right? We want to use the ends justify the means. We want to use power whenever necessary to push our agenda, our vision of the world. This is how the world should be. And we'll do anything to get this vision, regardless if it's hurt a large, massive amount of people. This is why people can't give up socialism. This is why people still want communism. No matter how many times it's been disproven, they haven't tried socialism this way yet. They didn't do socialism right. How arrogant are you as a human being to think that centuries on centuries of abject failure of socialism, and you think your people, you are going to implement it the correct way? Okay. I'm just saying. But yeah, I digress. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. You agree, disagree? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.